Hello there. Welcome, everybody. I'm Kim, and I am glad you're here. And this is Michelle, my partner.
Hi, everyone.
And we want everybody who comes today to make comments and jump right on and talk to us so we can interact with you. Right? And that is what this space is for. It's for conversation. So this is our second annual live show. And so if you're watching today, please jump on and say hello in the comments so we can interact with you and tell us what you think. Come on in anytime. Even if I'm ranting and raving, I'll stop. And we will read your comments and while we're live, and we'll go back and forth with you. We want you to know, we want to know what you think, and we basically want to know what you think about this chaotic, insane, crazy time that we're having, where our democratic republic's strength to endure is being tested to its limits. And Michelle and I have started a podcast called Racism Unfiltered, White Women Talk. And that's us. We talk. And we talk honestly and openly, and we don't mince words. We talk about culture, systemic racism, and what's happening right now in the United States today. And we want to know what you think too. So for anyone who is new, a little context here is this is my old YouTube channel called Angry Soccer Mom, and which I'm kind of reopening it after about 3 years of being completely gone, and Michelle is helping me. What happened was I was on a while ago and they didn't like my content. Imagine that. Guess what my content was? Anti-racism, bigotry, inequality, and corruption in America. So the channel was pushed out of the algorithms. They give me a notice saying they are not supporting my content anymore, and there was no recourse, no nothing. So I was really sad, but there was nothing I could do. So today we're in our second show, and we are trying to ask people to comment and come on and talk to us and tell us what you think about this chaotic, insane place we call the United States. So we're trying to bring the show back with your help. This is only our second show, and we'll call it the pregame show, I guess you could call that.
There you go. That's a great idea.
I'm sure that'll bring the crowds. But if you are watching, feel free, don't be shy, say hello. Because we want to know what you think about what's going on. And I used to use this platform on my weekly live shows as kind of a hub for people who didn't really have anyone to talk to about all this craziness. And we can talk about anything you want to. And if I don't know about it, Michelle probably will. And if
not necessarily, but okay.
and if we don't know about it, then you should tell us. But so we're trying to bring our show back, and we're hoping to build this space together. And honestly, the way we want to build it is by talking to you. So
there you go.
This show is.
I was thinking about what angry white women. We're not. Well, I guess we are angry white women. That is for sure. But in racism unfiltered, white women talk. So we were sort of WWT. And I was kind of thinking that we're more of WWW. We are white, woke women, right? Or woke white women. Let's do white, woke women. I can't even say it fast.
Okay.
But I've been thinking a lot about the importance of really waking up. And I think that's been my biggest sort of call to action. Is that we, especially as white women, we're white women, so we're talking about, obviously we include all white people. White men are very important in this struggle, since the system mostly benefited to you. But white woke women, or women woke white women. So we're WWW, and I think it's just so important that that we engage. And so hopefully we'll have some people engaged today, but just you and I engaging, I think is so vital.
Absolutely. I love talking to you.
Yeah, really sharing and talking about, living through this time of in a fascist and authoritarian takeover of our government. Finally, I mean, it's been 40 years in the works,
Yep.
maybe longer. Yeah.
Yep, they've been trying this and they're succeeding. And part of why they're succeeding is because, and with all due respect, I'm not talking to any one particular person, it's more in the aggregate, but we're letting them. People aren't
Yes.
involved. They think freedom's free. They think, oh, it'll work out. And that historically, Black and brown people have kind of saved us over and over and over again. And it's time that white folks step up to the plate, because you know what? A lot of them are freaking exhausted. And it's
Well, and it's
our
more, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
absolutely.
Also.
And it's our
and I think
responsibility. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. It's our people that are doing this shit.
we
Our
did
people
that.
are doing it. So we need to be the ones that are stopping it. That's
Yep.
exactly right.
We did this. We benefit from this. Not as much as the wealthiest elites do, but we benefit from it. And
Well, that's the wealthy, at least the ruling class. This is who's doing this. This is who is making sure we are seeing more and more power that wealthy elites have had and have had taken advantage. I mean, the Epstein files are insane. Reading some of these emails, the way that they talk, like they have not care in the world about being accountable for anything. They can do whatever they want. I can't even imagine that untethered power. But then they want us to be controlled to some religious faction where we fear God and we fear everything and we fear what we say, what we do, and all these commandments and everything else that we're supposed to adhere to. And they're not adhering to any of it. Any of it, and they don't care. They're just supposed to be laughing. I mean, to that maniacal laugh of insanity, because it's just, I don't know, if that isn't enough to make you angry to get in the streets and to start doing something, I don't know what is. But it pisses me off, to be totally honest. Not only do they have all the money and all the power, they want no accountability, and then they're laughing at us. I mean, it's like,
wow. They're so freaking corrupt. It's unbelievable. I mean, when the Epstein files, it's terrifying to know that there's that many people that exist that would systemically go after that and keep a secret. What a secret to keep. Oh my God. What a secret. But anyway.
It's scary. It is very, very scary.
It is very scary.
We're just so sad that these children and that these young women,
imagine.
It's awful. And it's so triggering, and there's so many of us as sexual abuse survivors that, it just brings up so much trauma. And I think that that's another important point, to bring up, is that we have all been traumatized in some way, shape, or form. In this country, I'm not really sure how you escape it, to be totally honest, especially as a woman. And there are so many white women who are still being sexually abused and physically abused. And I was just thinking about tonight is that you've got the Super Bowl. They said this is one of the worst nights for women for the losing team.
Really? Tell me more.
Yes.
You're good with the women, and I'm kind of lame with them.
Yeah. That basically, if your team loses tonight, that your significant other man, if they are already physically abusive, or maybe not, maybe this throws them over the edge, especially when you incorporate drinking, and they're so angry that the team lost that many women are assaulted tonight, whoever loses. And that's just, again, I think that's what keeps a lot of white women in fear. I think there's a lot of white women that are living in abusive relationships and have this trauma as growing up as a sexual assault victim as a child. I know that if you look at the Epstein files and Ghislaine Maxwell, that's who she chose. She purposely, chose little girls who were already victims.
Absolutely. They were very specific in their pickings of who they wanted. It wasn't an accident. They found vulnerable people. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so, it's just to give pause, to some of that. It's it's an exciting event. Whoever's watching the Super Bowl, I know obviously I'm in New England, so Patriots have had, an unbelievable winning streak and so forth. But yeah, so it's just one of those things that I think that we need to honor and to realize that that we as survivors of trauma, you've had trauma in your childhood, I've had trauma in my childhood, I'm a sexual assault, or child sexual abuse victim in my childhood. And so,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is not something that, again, I talk about it a lot, but it's been coming up for me reading some of these things, and some of the things I can't even read because it's just, again, so painful. So,
And
at that same time, we still need to be doing this work. We still need to engage because we have to save our souls, save ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this show is geared, especially for people who are just now learning and thinking of what's going on in our culture with regards to equity, justice, and the American, just how American culture is right now. And the show's for people who might feel anxious about this topic, or resistant, or reluctant, or overwhelmed, or who just really want to learn. It's for people who don't follow politics particularly, or maybe they're unsure how to talk about social issues. So that is who this space is for. And we center our conversation around the new learners who want to understand and, want to understand kind of what's happening right now in our culture. Because I think a lot of white folks are starting to catch on that their lack of taking action and lack of participation in government is a big part of the problem, and that the freedom's not free. So
what does that mean, though, Kim, to you, that freedom isn't free? Because a lot of times we say these sayings, and I don't know if really people unpack them and really understand what it means. What does that mean to you, that freedom is not free?
That's a great question. For me, we have all of these freedoms that we have. I mean, if you think back, women's rights, okay? Back in the day before I was born, yes, it was before I was born, so don't even go there. Women didn't have the right to divorce. They didn't have the right to have their own children if they get divorced, to say that those are my children and I'd like them, to have custody. We didn't have the right. Oh my gosh, there were so many rights we didn't have. And I'm just talking about white women. Other rights, the right, Black people, for the love of God, the right to exist and be left alone, the right to not be, not be owned, the right to all these things. And so when I say freedom's not free, I think I'm talking about an era or a generation of people who never really had to fight or resist or really do too much to get these rights. So we think they've always been here and they can never be taken away. And we are incredibly wrong. They can be taken away. Welcome to abortion,
Yes.
It's taken away. And it hurts white women, but what really, really hurts is people who are in already historically minoritized and oppressed groups. And so that's when I think about white women, sometimes I get a little angry because I think, we of all people should freaking know what it feels like to feel like, a second-class citizen, yet we do this to Black, brown, Indigenous people of mixed heritage. And we don't stand up to our husbands or our boyfriends or our friends or our partners. We don't stand up to our coworkers. We don't stand up to the people online. We're just kind of in our head. We might think, oh, it's wrong, but it's just not enough to think in your head, that's not nice. That's wrong. I mean, that's a great start, but it doesn't dismantle a culture of white supremacy to think in your head. You have to do more. So I don't know if this is
again just educating yourself. You said a ton of things in that, and I think one of the things is by design. That's an important point to even think about right now, that everything is by design. So even there's a strategy behind fascism. There's a strategy behind white supremacy and how it navigates. So even the word woke that we talked about before, and I think one of our earlier videos we talked about that word. But again, that's by design. Whenever they don't want you to do something, it's because it works against the system that they've designed. So in order to be woke means that you're educated, that you understand. So do you realize that as white women, that we've only had sort of full rights to even voting for 126 years, right? And right now, 126 years later, right? Even though we're getting ready to celebrate 250 years of the Republic, we, as white women, have only had voting rights for a little over 100 years of that 250 years. So that means, 175 years of the country existing in its republic, where we were 50% of the population, if not more, at some point, we didn't have access to a lot of these rights, and especially the right to vote, have a voice, to be able to say, that's not what we're going to vote for. That's not what we want. That's not rooted in equity. That's not rooted in justice. That's not rooted in fairness for us all. And then to understand that if that angers you, that you've only had the vote for 126 years, does it anger you even more that every other woman was excluded from that? And the Indigenous women literally have, received the right to vote in the late 60s, 70s. So
the alleged right, exactly.
The alleged right, that's right. Even though not most, but I'll just say a lot of Indigenous people do not look at this government as anything to do with them, which I agree, totally don't blame them. So just again, I think as us white women, let's realize or think about why are they doing certain things, and understand it is always to take away. It is always to take away our power and to take away our freedom, like you said. Now they're getting ready, the Republicans, to put another law that basically says that if you changed your name, you took your husband's name, as they, of course, wanted you to do, it almost makes you property of that person. You give up a part of your identity of who you are, go to your, take on your husband's name, make that huge change. Well, now they want to tell you that if your documents don't line up with your birth name, that you cannot vote.
So I have a rant on that in a few minutes. I have a big rant just on that topic.
Put the link definitely in this when we're done. But it's another thing to think about. If you lose the right to vote, a lot of families, they cancel each other out. Right? It's a lot of, I have a lot of white women that they're like, oh yeah, I don't vote with my husband. He doesn't know how I vote. I go in the voting booth and I can tell him anything I want. At the end of the day, I'm going to vote how I want. Well, that might be taken away from you. So now his one vote for something you don't want and your vote for something you do want would cancel each other out. Well, now guess who wins?
Right.
You lose. Yeah, we lose. So, so I think that understanding how important voting is, whatever they're focused on, is because that's the way that they're able to take more power away from us, the little power that we do have. But what is powerful is working together and working together in collaboration with Black women, specifically Indigenous women, specifically. If you're just don't know where to begin sometimes as white women, just Google who are, amazing Black women to listen to right now. What books should I be reading by Black and Indigenous women? What podcasts should I be listening to by, Black and Indigenous women? I mean, there's so many that they're all floating through my head right now. So we could certainly, share those if anybody wants that information. But again, that shouldn't be too much out of your comfort zone, right? We are asking white women to sort of get out of your comfort zone. I do want you to be safe, but you do have to be uncomfortable. So whatever you have to do to be able to do the work, if you're not being uncomfortable, right, Kim?
Then you're not really doing the work, probably. That's probably
not doing anything that's going to mean anything or do anything. So that's why, we have to, we have to really respect that our comfort is worth everyone else's oppression. We have to decide what are our values, right? maybe you're not as empathetic or compassionate for other people that are going through genocide right now, that are being stripped of their rights, that are being, taken out of their house by, this immunity police that are strolling our cities. Maybe that doesn't move you. Maybe that doesn't, just pull you out. But I guess, we have to dig deeper into really who we are and what do we believe and what are we raising our kids to believe. Do we want our children, do you teach them in kindergarten to share, or do you say, no, just take whatever the fuck you want? It's yours. It's yours, little man, little woman, right? Your 5-year-old child. Is that what you're saying? Like, don't share. Don't share. Don't be compassionate. Don't be empathetic. Like, right? Remember, was there something about what I learned in kindergarten, or what parents teach us kindergarten? Can you imagine if the PTO, like white women, got up going, listen, no more sharing. Like, this shit is no more empathy, no more compassion. Even though I think there are some white women that are doing that.
We're kind of there right now. I hate to say it in a lot of ways, but with all
as I was saying that, I was like, oh, fuck, I think there are white women that, okay, but forget them. That's not who's listening to this, right?
Right,
so
right.
We need the white women that are still about, you go to the playground with your child and you go into the sandbox and there's other children already playing, or maybe your child was playing first, right? How many times has this happened? And then another child comes over and just takes that truck, right? Takes that shovel. What are you going to do? What do you want to teach your child, right? Either, look, I have another shovel, or why don't you play for a minute, then I'll play for a minute. I mean, these are just basic values. Have we lost this? What are we doing, Kim?
Well, definitely having the administration we have right now and the whole MAGA movement as a backlash to, God forbid, not everybody in this country is white, has brought out, not invented, but just revealed exactly who we are as a culture. And some of us kind of knew it already, but I think a lot of people are really, I hear a lot of white women saying this, oh my God, this country has never been so divided. And I'm like, ma'am, with all due respect, back to history class you go. Because you know what? Oh, yes, we have.
Yeah.
You know how what a fight it was to get to civil rights, to get human rights bill passed? I mean, they're still trying to dismantle the Voting Rights Act. I mean, yes, we actually have been incredibly divided. It's just, as a white person, we, in the aggregate, probably haven't noticed. And well, that's
yeah. Well, and no, I'm sorry. You finish, because I got a thought that I wanted to share. What did you say? What were you going to say?
That was it. I finished.
What you made me think of was the halftime show tonight with Bad Bunny.
I have a rant on that too.
Well, we'll have to put that in there too, because what's interesting is that I would love to see really, how divided are we? Or is this just another ploy to think that somehow 50% of us are over here and 50% of us are over here, so it just seems mountainous, and how are we ever going to, we're not a cohesive America. I'd be curious to see how many people actually leave Bad Bunny and go over to Kid Rock, okay? Because I guess Kid Rock is having some kind of show on Fox, I would assume, but yeah. What was your rant? What did you say?
Well, this is what I was going to say about that, and you'll understand exactly. I mean, I think the audacity is the point. MAGA, and for people who don't know, MAGA Turning Point decided to create their own separate halftime show.
Those Turning Points.
They can't. What is it? Say it again.
Oh, the MAGA Turning Point. I should have figured.
Yeah, MAGA and Turning Point have decided to create their own separate halftime show, because they cannot tolerate the idea that a brown artist singing in Spanish will be at the Super Bowl. And this tells you everything that you need to know. It's not about the music. It's not about football. It's about belonging. And it's their way of saying he doesn't belong. He's not really American. But you see, MAGA doesn't get to decide who is and who isn't American. Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican, and Puerto Ricans are American citizens.
Yes,
Spanish is spoken.
New York Times had to change what they had written, because they had said that he was from Puerto Rico, so he wasn't American.
People do not quite get that. Yes, Puerto Rico is part of it's American territory.
We colonized this. We've taken it over and colonized
Yes,
it. And we give them spit.
Spanish is spoken by tens of millions of Americans. None of this is foreign. None of this is new. This is America. But what makes
They were
moments
here
so
first.
ironic is that the people trying to police who belongs here and almost entirely are almost entirely descendants themselves of immigrants, unless you're an indigenous person and your family came over, your family came over probably as an immigrant, with one devastating exception: Black people whose ancestors were kidnapped and enslaved and forced to build this country against their will.
Yes.
So the idea of deciding who and who isn't an American enough is just wrong. It's historically absurd. America was never meant to be a white country. It was meant to be a multicultural democratic republic, messy and involved, great experiment, made up of people from everywhere. And that was always the promise, even when the country failed to live up to its promises. Remember that whole former, more perfect union thing? And now, as the United States,
what? They were never talking about us. They were never talking. Those wealthy elite white men in the room, right? Tad Stormer was talking about. He's a historian, and was talking about that it was we the people in the room, right? They say we the people, but it actually only meant the wealthy white men in the room. It didn't mean us. It didn't mean 90% of the country. So that's the thing, is that when they talk about we the people and they talk about freedom, they're not talking about us. They just are not. And I think we have to really be honest about that, because if we live in denial that somehow we think that when they talk about America first, that they're talking about us. They're not. They're talking about wealthy first.
That's part of the problem with a lot of people who do believe that they're talking about us. They will vote for people who are supportive of the wealthiest elites, thinking that they have some sort of connection with them, when actually they do not. And right now, as the United States moves towards a non-white majority, non-white, in the coming decades, the fear is driving the behavior, and they are just loving it. It's cultural panic, attempting to redraw the boundaries of who belongs and who doesn't belong. And this isn't about what's happening now with Bad Bunny. This isn't a halftime performance. It's about demographic fear. It's xenophobic. It's racismo. It's racist.
I really wonder how many, and I hope they give the stats in terms of the percentage of people that are watching, because I think it's important for people to realize that the majority of this country does not want any of this. And the majority of white women we're probably talking to, and all white people, don't want this.
But
the majority of them don't.
They're not speaking up in larger amounts, and so if you think it, that's lovely. But if you're not taking action on it, and being vocal and actually standing up for what's right, then I'm sorry, you're still upholding the status quo. I mean, people must be terrified. They have to have their own little halftime show, because America might not be centering whiteness anymore the way it once did. But America doesn't belong to whiteness. It never did. Creating a separate America. They want to create a separate America because, the person
they can't. It's inevitable. They're running scared because they're thinking somehow they can stop 90% of the global majority from becoming the majority. They always have been, and they always will be. I mean, these wealthy white elite are thinking that somehow that they can hold on to this when white people are less than 10% of the population of the world. We're not going to. So it's not going to happen. And this is their last ditch effort to fight this. And I just don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of this group that's trying to hold on to something that, that's sinking. The ship is sinking. The empire is over. And I think that the more that we realize that this is happening and embrace, this multiracial democracy that we know is coming, that we want, that we have to build, we have to make it. It never was. It was never intended to be, but we have to keep fighting for it.
Yeah, Mega is trying to create this separate America because they don't like who's on stage tonight.
Well, again, go find an Epstein Island to live. I don't know.
they're protecting the country. They're just exposing it. They're exposing the racism. It's
They
segregation.
are.
It's modern
They
form.
are.
Othering, it's obnoxious, it's racist, and it's pathetic. And
Yeah.
MAGA don't get to decide who belongs here.
Well, they think they do. They think they do. And you've got Trump being
America.
the one that's saying all this. You know, he has whoever's posting on his Truth Social. Who knows who it is? Because it wasn't him, right? So he is the voice of whoever follows him. So stop following him. Get off of Truth Social. Get on other platforms so you can actually learn the truth. Stop watching Fox News. There are so many things that we can do to resist this system and change. Why do you want to be on the Titanic that's sinking? It's sinking. It's not going to exist. And they're going to take us all down with them if we let them.
Yeah, they don't get to they don't get to redefine what America is, and they don't get to erase the reality that this country has always been multilingual, multicultural, and multiracial. And that's not a threat. That's what America is. And this is what culture looks like when it's divided and fear-mongering is encouraged. But this is exactly why our participation matters. Democracies don't survive on autopilot. They survive when ordinary people like you and me stay engaged. And that's why I'm always trying to get people to go out there, and protests do matter. Nonviolent protests do matter. That's how change begins.
Yes, no, it definitely does. And thinking about us being, born in the 60s, born in the 60s, us women of this generation, right? That we know that we didn't have the rights. We could see it in the classroom, even in middle school and high school. I know that white men, which was the majority of, people in my school were white people. So just to see how white men were treated differently, white boys were treated differently in the classroom, even by white women teachers. I mean, you knew that you were a second-class citizen in middle school and high school. There's no way that you did not, right? And then they have the access to go to college. Like,
I wanted to be a boy.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go, right? Because you have more access, more opportunity.
I didn't know why I wanted to be a boy, but I wanted to be a boy.
But I mean, just even, so just thinking that somehow our daughters have less rights than we did back then, and that they are coming for our rights, and we cannot sit here and let them take us back. I don't want to go back to that, right? I was one of the first, persons to go to college in my family, and my children, I cannot see young white women growing up right now having less rights and us not fighting for them. I saw this rant of this older white lady, that she basically said, you know what? Who needs to be in the streets, who needs to be speaking up is old white ladies. Old white ladies really know this whole system. We've grown up through this whole system, and we're not going to go back. We're not going to allow white supremacy to take away our vote again, to take away our autonomy to our bodies, to basically say sexual assault, oh, well, get over it. You're not going to, whoever victimizes you, is not going to be held accountable. All of these things is what they're doing. It really is white women who they are so attacking, and why most of these rules and policy changes are happening. So, I mean, I think that
we're letting them. We're letting them.
We have to stop.
Right, definitely.
We have to stop letting them. We absolutely before it's too late. Before it's too late.
Might be too late. We don't know. I want to sneak back.
No, it's never too late. We got to fight.
I want to sneak back to my last. You brought up a good point about the women who have been married. My next little mini rant is about this fake voter crisis. There's no voting crisis in America. There's nothing like that. It's called the SAVE Act that's trying to be passed.
Yes,
and I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
I want to talk a little about that because it's a fake voter. It's a fake voter fraud crisis. The voter fraud crisis Trump keeps talking about in the news is called the SAVE Act. And this so-called crisis, it's not really a crisis, is one he invented his own election security chief said that the 2020 election was the most secure election in the history of America. And then Trump fired him for saying it. Not because he failed, but because he wouldn't lie for him. Dozens of courts have said that there's no widespread fraud. Hello, welcome to this. It just doesn't exist. Republican election officials confirmed the results, and here's what people forget. This is my number one point if I could ever make one. Many candidates lost in the race in 2020, not just Trump. And that's what happens in elections. But none claimed massive fraud except one. And that would be, you know who? He who which we do not speak. And now suddenly he's talking about nationalizing elections. It's not to protect voting, but it's to control voting. And at the same time,
he's our vote. He doesn't want to lose.
He's pushing the laws that make the voting harder. The SAVE Act would require documentation and all this proof of citizenship to register to vote, things like passports and birth certificates that match your legal name. Welcome to who do you think is going to need these? Who changes their name when they get married? That creates barriers. 69 million married women in America have legally changed their name, and it does not match their birth certificate.
Right.
Okay.
No,
so
we'll have to change our name back. We'll all have to change our name back then, won't we?
I do not know what's going to happen, but it will be, a lot of people just say forget it. And you don't have a passport. Fixing that mismatch means time, paperwork, fees, government offices, waiting time, and that's the point. He won't stop the elections outright. He'll just make it extremely difficult and extremely expensive that people will just give up. This is the modern voter suppression. Because
and why doesn't he want us to vote?
His biggest fear is it's not voter fraud. He knows that doesn't even exist. It's accountability. And we can talk in a minute about why he doesn't want us to vote. And we all know why. A change in Congress means oversight, investigations, limits on his power.
Impeachment.
So instead of allowing elections, he's trying to control them, creating a fake crisis to justify real restrictions. And there is no voter fraud emergency. There is only the leader's extreme fear of losing power. And when someone tries to make voting harder, claiming that they're protecting democracy, it's not about election security. It's about desperation. And
because it's always the lies. It's always the lies that they tell us to why they're doing things. It's the same thing. Venezuela, we gotta, shoot these boats because they have drugs on them. No, they don't. And that was never the reason why, because of drugs. Venezuela wasn't giving the drugs. Honduras, he pardoned that guy that allowed so much cocaine into our
a hypocrite.
It's always lies. So you can never believe whatever they're saying, why they're doing something. No, it's a lie. It's a lie.
Yep. Absolutely.
It was about rich oligarchs getting more money for oil because they want their oil because it's a large oil.
Right? I don't mean to interrupt you. We have a comment. Europeans protest more than Americans do. More than Americans do, and have strong government programs to protect the poor and vulnerable. Yeah, well, God forbid, that's very true. God forbid we actually learn from others and reached out and realized that, it's sort of, I just want to make a point about what this person's saying. That's an excellent point. We are brainwashed in America to believe that we are very, very liberal. And the fact is we are very, very not. I mean, think about, we incarcerate more people than, oh my God, we still allow the death penalty. We took away women's right to choose. I mean, that's not liberal. That's not so, like,
25% of the world's population.
It's crazy. So we're brainwashed to believe that we're so liberal. It's because a lot of us don't travel. A lot of us don't have people that can tell us the truth, which is we are not liberal. We're a very conservative country. America used to tax the rich more going back in. Yep, exactly. Do you remember back when?
That's when it started. Why do you think you can literally trace it back to when the taxes, when those laws changed so that wealthy people paid less taxes is when this shit started and why we're at where we're at. where now wealthy people pay almost nothing in taxes, and we're still trillions and trillions of dollars in debt.
Kim, are you part Danish? No, I'm not. Nope, I'm not.
But what's interesting too, I am Italian and Portuguese, and a mixture of some other things along the way, but mostly Italian and then Portuguese. So my Portuguese heritage, definitely learning more about the colonization of the Portuguese and what they've done. So very, very difficult. But Europeans protest more than Americans do. But we have 360 million people. Most of the time when you see France, maybe coming out into the streets, or Britain, or some other country, you're talking about 20 million people, 25, 30 million people of the population. So even though it looks like Europeans protest more, that again, I think that we could argue on two different ways, that we're much, the size of France is like the size of, Texas. So we have to look at it for the size. I mean, we're 4% of the world's population in this country. We do come out and protest. And I think that we're getting stronger. These No King rallies are happening. They're going to happen again March 28th.
March 28th. Be there.
Yeah. And what's interesting is they show the protests in Europe. So we're like, oh my God, look at those people. Look at all those people coming out into the street. They also have free healthcare. They also have more holidays than we do. I think, in this country, you can't afford to miss a day at work a lot of times.
We're not a liberal country. That's just...
No, we're not a democracy either. So, I mean, I think that comparing them and comparing that European countries are not America. We are a multiracial, multi-ethnic, communities, where in a lot of those areas, they're not, right? That's why white people, Europeans, again, left there to come to a place that is now going to be a majority Black, brown, Indigenous. So again, it's different, and I just don't, at the end of the day, that's great. I am glad they're protesting, and yes, and we need to get out there in the streets, and we are going to do it our way, with the people that we have, and center Black and Indigenous women as to what they're calling us to do, how they're calling us to show up, for sure.
And you have a comment here, Michelle. I understand the size, but it's not an excuse for Americans not to fight for public good. And foundational Black American needs a break from protesting. And I want to speak to that for a second, just really quickly. Black and brown, Black Americans have saved our ass over and over and over. And I agree 100%. It is, my friends who are Black are freaking exhausted. They have had it. They've had enough with the abuse. They've had enough with the lies, and they've had it. And it's time for white folks to step the hell up. It's way past time to step up and fight for what's right. And that's what I meant by we think freedom's free, because it's been given to us in this generation. It really has. That's just how I feel. And that we think it's just a given, and it's not. And we're letting it get dismantled on our watch. And it just enrages me, because this is supposed to be everybody's country, not just the wealthiest white elites. It's supposed to be everybody's
country.
According
to them. Not according to them. They've bought our politicians. They've bought our justice system. The Supreme Court is bought and paid for. It goes back to the fraud that you were talking about. Our politicians are bought and paid for on both sides.
Citizens United. Bye-bye.
Yeah. There is no side. And Japan's population is 123 million, and the United States is 350 million. So the United States and Japan are not the same size.
But I agree with the callers saying there's no excuse. There's absolutely
No, and I'm not making an excuse.
No, and I know you're not. I know you're not.
Making an analysis that we have to look at what we have. I guess I'm just not into the whole comparison thing that somehow other people do it. We are a unique country. We've always been in a unique country. And so we have to do things uniquely, right? And so where have we ever heard of people boycotting buses for 14 months and refusing to get on them and walking to work? That was obviously the Montgomery bus boycott that Black people engaged in.
Completely planned.
But they were planned. It was organized. They had carpools ready. And that's the kind of history that we need to look at. Those are the kind of examples that we need to look at from our own history that has worked. Not saying anything about any other country, but I feel like we need to look at what has worked in this country to make a difference. We are making a difference with Tesla. We made a difference with Target. There's now calls to boycott Target this week, to actually find your local Target and to show up in the parking lots. I would like to do that with Walmart also, hoping that more people are organizing to do things like that, because we are a consumer-driven economy. And at the end of the day, this is about money and power, and we have the power to affect their money. When we're out protesting, we're not out spending. We're not on the internet. We're not making all these people more money. They're not gathering, well, they're gathering more of our data on our phone. But, these people like Peter Thiel with Palantir and Elon Musk and, having Starlight and all, it's amazing how many white people are so just excited about, Elon Musk having access to the internet and being able to shut it down at any time. Do they realize it's going to affect them also? Like that?
We revere wealthy people in a very sick way. I think that's part of it. That's just my opinion. But
yeah,
I mean, it's like, don't even get me started on that. But anyway, it's a great conversation. And do you have other stuff you want to say? Because do you want to talk about our books for a minute? Because
sure, let's hear. I would love to hear yours. You haven't given me an update in a while. What's going on?
There's an update. I have written a book called Indoctri-Nation 365 with the word nation in capital letters. And it is written specifically for folks who are reluctant, resistant, anxious, or new to learning about our culture and what's going on right now, for folks who maybe weren't into politics, weren't into social issues, have just been working really hard to make ends meet, or maybe for folks who used to be MAGA and they realized that it's really not in their best interest or the interest of most people in this country to be racist and hateful and bigoted and xenophobic. And don't get me started. Sorry, had to go there. So my book is going to be turned in for its final, I have it for final editing. I'm going to turn it in Monday. And hopefully it'll be out by the end of the month, or a little bit, maybe a little after that. I'm not sure. But it is a book that is easy to read. It's for everybody. It's not about shaming. It is about explaining and teaching and educating and telling people that we have inherited a culture that was purposefully, the truth was kept from us. And it's an honest book. And I hope everybody supports me, and it's my first book, of course.
Yay,
and I'm
so excited. You did the work for us, right? You did the work for us to be able to do the work, and that is so important, especially written from your perspective. And like you said, it's an easy read because of the way that you write and the way that you offer you offer the facts. They'll offer a lot of the facts that I think people are going to be blown away if you haven't done a deep dive.
Thank you. It's not an opinion book. I had over almost 500 footnotes. So it's not, I promise, it's not my opinion. And when it is my opinion, I just tell it like a personal experience. You'll know. But it's an easy read, and thank you for those kind words, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it is. I really love it. I love it. I love the title. I love the cover. I can't wait to see when it's live. We'll definitely have to talk about it. Maybe we can do a little reading of it. That would be amazing.
I want to start a book club on it, so that
good. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Everyone's invited.
Awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk about your book.
Yeah, so I'm working on final edits of my book also. So I have written a couple of children's books that I can share with people if you're interested. But my book is The Liabilities of Whiteness: How Whiteness Has Hurt White People or Hurt White People, and How We Reclaim Our Humanity. So mine is very much a look at how whiteness has really impacted us. Like, I'm just at the back of the book says, this book challenges the dominant framing of whiteness as a privilege alone, and instead asks us a deeper question. What has whiteness cost us? What parts of our humanity, our capacity for truth, relationships, belonging, accountability, and love have been sacrificed to uphold it? Structured for both individual reflection and collective use, each chapter includes guided questions, practices, and calls to action designed to support readers in moving beyond guilt or defensiveness toward responsibility, repair, and sustained engagement. My book is about becoming human again and understanding why the dismantling of whiteness is essential, not only for justice, but for our shared survival. So,
Wait, you know what I love about your book? Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, good.
What I love about your book is that most books on this kind of topic are about all the harm that white supremacy does and all the things like that. But this book is like, welcome to, it's not good for us either, but we just don't get it. And so I love that angle, because people need to know that, sure, short run, you can feel superior. You can feel like you're all that when you know you're not, that you're all human, one human race, remember that. But your book is going to explain to us how we are harming ourselves. We are our humanity. My God. And my book goes into a teeny bit of that, but mine's a very, for beginners. Mine's for beginners.
Absolutely. And mine is really for men. Yeah, mine's for after you read Kim's book.
Right.
You go into my book when you're willing to understand whiteness and how it has impacted your life and the decision that you make, that I really want to reclaim my humanity. You know, I open up the book with a quote from James Baldwin, because he is really such amazing, brilliant voice, even though we've lost him so many years ago. Really, to read and listen to him right now is so poignant as to what he is sharing with us, that we could learn so much. But he says, one cannot deny the humanity of another without diminishing one's own. And that is really what we need to understand. That, you know, sometimes when I look at, you know, and I know the media sensationalizes, you know, people, MAGA people, and I hate to even label people that way, but, you know, people that are supporting this fascist takeover and removal of our democratic rights.
Twilight of our democracy, right?
Yeah, when you're just living in so much anger, when you are living with hate, you're living with the other. You know, we are one species. We are one family. You know, but I get it. You know, there's so much hate even in individuals, you know, people's family. And so maybe it becomes natural that it's easy. You just hate somebody. But you can't not also reflect on how that impacts you and affects you personally, to your humanity, because the anger, the stress, really, it's right. Doesn't it say, like, it takes so many more muscles to frown than it does to smile, right?
What they say, whoever they are.
Yeah. That's right. But I guess it kind of makes sense, even though it makes me look more wrinkly. So yeah, so I'm excited about both of our books. We're doing the work. And we've investigated, you know, educated ourselves. We've been studying for over 20 years. I know a lot of people don't have that much time. We need to study now in the next 20 minutes. But we're doing the
So worth
work.
it,
We're
though.
engaging. Yeah. Oh,
So
it's
worth
so worth it.
So worth it. Seeing the world the way it really is.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, it really is. So awesome.
all right.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm gonna ask before we go. I'm gonna ask everybody if you support we would be thrilled if you support our live shows that we're doing, and also we put out videos about approximately one a week on my YouTube channel, and we have, oh my goodness, LinkedIn. And if you look in the comments at the bottom of this video, once it's out, we have a LinkedIn group that goes with our live shows, Racism Unfiltered White Women Talk, where we talk and talk and talk. And
Yes.
thank you so much.
Woke white women. Woke white women. Here we go.
Yep.
www.
Next week at 4 o'clock. And thank you for watching. And remember, it's for participation. So the more people who comment, the more we love it. We stop talking, we start talking to you. So
yes, thank you for the same person who came last time. So we're glad to see that. Again, we're going to share the truth. If there are things that are said that aren't exactly accurate, I think it's important for us, to just share that. So, fact to facts. Your opinions are very welcome, but not alternative facts. So
right, and we are honest. It's not like we're going to allow that. We're very, very upfront and honest. Not because we want to be right, but because we want people to learn and grow and get it.
Well, the truth. We need more of the truth, less of the alternative.
Post-truth era is a little annoying, a little that's understandable of the century. Well, thank you for watching, and
thank you.
Thank you for supporting us. And Michelle, that was wonderful.
Yay! It was really fun. It always is fun talking with you. It's always a blast. Thanks, Kim. Thanks for this. This platform is amazing, what you've been able to do over the years, and YouTube doesn't know what it's doing, but that's okay. We're going to keep going.
Somehow. We'll get back in there.
Right. We'll get back in there.
All right.
Take care. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thanks.